The auction. The dust of the frontier town clung to everything: hats, boots, even the souls of the men who called it home. It was 1876, and the town of Red Clay, nestled between the Kansas Plains and Comanche territory, was preparing for its monthly livestock and settler exchange auction. Among the crowd was a man whose presence turned heads, broad-shouldered, lean, and silent as a wolf. They called him Jack Rourke, an ex-cavalry scout turned trapper. Jack wasn't one for towns. He had seen enough of what civilization did to people: greed, cruelty, and betrayal. But something pulled him to Red Clay that day, something beyond reason. Maybe it was fate. The auction yard bustled with traders, settlers, and opportunists. Wagons rolled in, laden with crates, oxen, and, more disturbingly, people. Native captives, mostly women and children, taken in raids or bought from bounty hunters. They were treated like cattle. Jack's jaw clenched. Then he saw her. She stood out like fire in a snowstorm. A Comanche woman, pregnant and barefoot, her hair long and braided, her back straight with defiance. Her eyes scanned the crowd with fury rather than fear. She wasn't broken. Not yet. An oily man with a cigar pushed her onto a raised platform. "Next one," he bellowed. Young, strong, and carrying. Good stock for house or field. A man in a brown vest stepped forward. Large, red-faced, reeking of whiskey and rot. "I'll take her," he slurred. As she was led down by a rope around her wrist, the red-faced man reached out and grabbed her. She pulled away. He backhanded her. Hard. The crowd laughed. That's when Jack moved. No words. No hesitation. He was on the man in 3 strides. His fist hit like a hammer, smashing the man's jaw sideways. Another blow to the gut, then a third that dropped him cold in the dirt. A hush fell. Jack turned to the auctioneer. "How much?" The man stammered, $50, but... Jack tossed a leather pouch at his feet. "There's 100. I take her." "No refunds," the auctioneer mumbled. Jack didn't answer. He took the rope from the woman's wrist, gently, and tossed it to the ground. She rubbed her wrist, stunned. He didn't touch her, just nodded toward his horse. "Name's Jack," he said quietly. "You ride with me, you're free." She didn't respond, but after a long moment, she followed him. By dusk, they had left Red Clay behind, galloping into the wild hills. Chapter 2. The Fire Within. They rode in silence for hours, until they reached a small cabin by a stream. Jack helped her down, then backed away. He offered her the cabin and made his bed under the stars. He never asked her name. She watched him from the door, unsure of what to make of this quiet man who had struck like thunder but treated her like a spirit from the sky. Over the next few days, he hunted, cooked, and built a second shelter. She watched, ate in silence, and slowly began to trust. On the 5th day, she spoke. "Taiha," she said, placing her hand on her chest. Jack nodded. "Taiha."
She pointed to him.
"You are Lone Wolf." He chuckled for the first time in years. "That's close enough." Taiha told him her story in broken English and Comanche. She had been taken during a raid, her village destroyed, her husband killed. She was pregnant with his child when the traders found her. They had planned to sell her into servitude, or worse. But Jack had changed that. Spring gave way to summer. Taiha helped around the cabin, and Jack taught her how to shoot a rifle. They rarely spoke, but shared a language deeper than words, one of quiet gestures, shared firelight, and watching the stars. One evening, she placed her hand over his. "I choose to stay," she said. Jack didn't reply, but something in his eyes softened. Later that night, she took his hand and placed it on her stomach. "You protect too now," she whispered. The birth came on a stormy night. Taiha cried out in pain, sweat pouring from her brow, as Jack held her hand and stoked the fire. Hours passed. Then a wail pierced the cabin, sharp and defiant, like Taiha had been at that auction. A girl. Jack cradled the infant as Taiha rested. His hands, rough from years of killing and trapping, held the child with the gentleness of a prayer. Tears rolled down his cheeks. The next morning, He buried his old cavalry badge beneath a cottonwood tree and carved their names into it. Taiha.
Jack.
Firechild. Years later, old-timers in Red Clay spoke of a Comanche woman and a scarred white man who rode together like wind and thunder. They said he killed 3 bounty hunters who tried to take her. They said their daughter could shoot the wings off a hawk. But most said nothing, because when Jack Rourke walked into town, silence followed him. He had nothing left to prove. He had already found what most men spend lifetimes chasing: honor, love, and fire in the heart of the wild.